Hi, and welcome to Oppida Live's rerun of Why Multimedia Matters. This was a Oppida Live on the 16th of March, and this is a re-record of the teaching section of the live event. So what do we really mean by multimedia? Well, first of all, at Oppida, we define that as anything that is, I guess, above the storyboarding of the text, or anything that kind of is bigger than graphic design, basically. So videos, which include interviews, talking heads, explainers, and animations. And I'm going to talk more about that throughout here, what that means for us and how we've classified them. This is things like infographics. So if somebody wanted a really complicated infographic, maybe with a H5P element, with some sort of like hotspots, et cetera, we call that also multimedia. Audio files, so audio tracks, sometimes people call them podcasts, any kind of any kind of audio that you want to embed inside the learning, we call multimedia. And also branch scenarios. So sometimes we use things like H5P to do that. Sometimes it's built into the software. Anytime that there is, I guess, more complicated things above and beyond a graphic and some text, we put in the multimedia category. So how much does multimedia cost? Well, the reason I have this string barn here is because it really is about how long is a piece of string, because media can be a couple $100, $50, $1,000, $10,000, $20,000, really. It depends on the production and what you're trying to achieve, and the tools in which you use, and how much quality you want, how much professionalism you want. It can also be as simple as an academic or somebody taking some video on their phone and throwing it up onto the LMS directly from a phone. So it could cost nothing. So there is a huge range, and this is what is really, really critical for us as consultants and as service providers, is that we really need to make sure our clients understand that, to say I want a video is a very, very broad statement, because we have to narrow that down. And we narrow that down by understanding the trade-offs that we want to take, and also the budget. So some of the ways that we look at media, especially in the video production, so this is going to focus mostly on video. Audio is pretty self-explanatory. And today I think we just focus mostly on the video side of things, because that's where everybody's headed at the moment. On the left-hand side, you see there's no person involved here. So these are as examples that Oppida has where no person is on camera. There is a voiceover. So in this top one, this is our kind of showcase reel, and there is a voiceover over the top of this, but it is fully animated. And when I say animated, using I guess screen shares from our courses, which is why it's a course show reel, and elements of graphics that the editor has put together to make it work. And obviously lots of things like, title pages, subtitle pages. The bottom one here, this is a full animation. So again, there's a voiceover over the top, but there's no person in it, right? Over on the right-hand side, you have an actor or a subject matter expert. So sometimes we can if the topic can be delivered by anyone, we can put an actor on to read the script. I do that sometimes for clients. So this is a picture of me doing actually an Oppida script. So I'm kind of the SME here as well. But the point is that you can put somebody else on camera if you need to, if it's not important that it's them specifically to teach the information. So the video that I'm actually presenting here could have been done by anyone else in my team, but I was the one with the access to the studio. Down here, you have an example of an interview we did with a subject matter expert. So this was a Zoom interview, and this was where it had to be him on camera because it was about his experience and things that he wanted to teach through the camera. Okay. Oops, there we go. Okay, keeping on the trade-offs perspective. So here we have those same videos, but put in under the trade-offs, more trade-offs around cost effectiveness and costly. So, and I've also categorized them here. So we call that an explainer video, and we call that an interview, right? Because it was a Zoom interview where one of my colleagues was on the screen and it went flash between the two. These are very cost effective. So interview more than the explainer. The explainer can be quite complicated depending on how many screen shares, how much preparation you do. There's a lot of pre-production and there's a lot of post-production in an explainer. In an interview, there is a bit of pre-production and not very much production or post-production, because it's pretty simple. You just have to cut out any kind of, if it's, say, a zoom dropped in the middle, you just have to cut that out. Maybe you put a little bit of a top at the tail, you put the logo, you do a little bit of music, and you'll stick this beautiful little title card on there. So it's a very simple production, okay? On the right-hand side, you have costly. Now, we call these ones talking heads, and we call them talking heads because this kind of sounds very impersonal, actually, but it's because there is a script in front of an actor, and the actor is looking down the barrel, talking to that script, and all of the, I guess, kind of the emotion and well, not the emotion, but I guess the character of the video comes in the pre and the post-production and the scripting. So it is a quite easy one to deliver. It's just straight down the camera with some expression. We'll often have two cameras, and they will in the editing process split between the two to make sure that people are staying focused, right? That can be quite costly. And again, even within that label of costly, you can go, $1,000, $6,000. And the big driver of costs in these instances is the time taken of the video. So say the video is 5 minutes, fully scripted, and the actor just reads directly off the script, obviously making a few mistakes here and there, which the editor can cut, but it's one file and it's followed the script. That's a very simple editing process. If you say go in and somebody has notes, not a script, and freestyles, that can take a lot longer in the editing process, because we have to do transcriptions first. We have to sit down and decide what's coming out, what's staying, and then we have to meld that together, do post-production notes on it, hand it to an editor, and the editor, say it's like maybe even just a 10-minute video, there'll be 20 minutes of footage they have to go through to get that down to the 10 minutes, especially if it's a freestyle. So again, these are more costly, but they can also be, we can cut costs in being better prepared and different ways in which we can film them. Animations, fortunately and unfortunately, there are lots of tools off the shelf that can do animations. And nowadays you can get quick animations done for a couple $100 using some automated tools. They will feel a little bit impersonal, and they won't be branded, et cetera, et cetera. So again, inside of animations being costly, there is an extreme. There's cheap, costly, and then there's costly. So the animation that we have here for Oppida was actually cost us about $3,000 to make, because it was very, very tailored. It had our branding. Every single screen has to be storyboarded, and it was about a minute. So a minute animation can cost upwards of $3,000 to $5,000, right? So if you do them from scratch with an animator on your team, and if you go to a software, again, you can do it cheaper. Okay, so we want to talk about Mayer's 12 principles, and I've actually just been informed since I set up these slides that there's actually 15 now. So it's been revised, but for purposes, we actually talked about 12 inside the live. So, and I'm just picked out 4 to go through today. So number 1, coherence. Number 2, signaling. We're going to talk about pre-training and voice. You can go look these up. There's heaps of websites all talking about Mayer's. Okay. So a deep dive on coherence. What this principle is, that people learn better when extraneous words, pictures, and sounds are excluded rather than included. So what this means is that as you're reading out a script, to have different words coming up on the screen to help the learner connect between what you're saying and what they're reading. So as these things were coming up on the screen here, I was saying them one by one. Okay, so it's just another way for people to take the information in by voice and by words. Now, the biggest thing here is to never have the words not match the voice. I've seen people actually do that, where the voice is saying one thing, but the words are saying something else. That's actually a complete no-no, right? Because the brain goes, what the hell is going on here? Okay. And sounds and pictures also help. So if you see on the right-hand side, this is an example of, in the background, I'm saying, has had a computer in her pocket since she was 15. Up on screen, we actually have an image of somebody, that the persona I'm talking about, and we have the words exactly as I say them again. So we're using a picture, We're taking me off the screen for a minute and we're putting on someone different. And that's also part of this, I guess, production phase where you have to have different things going on so that the eyes don't get tired and bored. Signaling. So people learn best when cues that highlight the organization of the essential material are added. This is so important. So this is also part of the script writing, because in the script writing process, you will be going through, how do you want to structure this video? And the structure of the video is how you come up with your cues and you let people know and signal where you are. So for example, on the left-hand side, this is me speaking about the outcome that's going to be in this module. And I say that outcome, and this is also a consistent, I guess, slide that comes up whenever I'm talking about the outcome in all the other introduction videos. There's 6 introduction videos in this series, and it follows exactly the same format. So it's signaled all the way through, even within the course, but inside the video especially. Then in the middle there, we've got me talking about a digital badge, and we have the badge being signaled. Again, this is what's going on here. This is a consistent image that comes up when I say that. At the end, on the right-hand side here, we have one where we used it in summary slides. So we found that these videos were quite complex, and it felt like we really needed to say at the end of kind of the teaching in summary. And so we used that as a title slide. We use title slides all the way throughout. We will use transitions to signal as well, and all different ways. Like I've even had videos where we've had we've kind of kept something up in the right-hand side to show where we're up to in the video as well. Oops, I clicked on that again. Oh, okay. Deep dive pre-training. So people learn better from a multimedia lesson when they know the names and characteristics of the main concepts. Okay, so one of the things we have done before is we have come up with characters to embed through our videos. If we know with a client we're going to be doing, say, 10 to 15 videos, and it's going to be really important for us to have different I guess, characters and case studies and examples, and we want to use real life examples inside our videos, which is actually a really good thing to do. We actually created characters, sorry. And so in this one, this is a character, Lan. So you'll see Lan here. This was her role. We gave her a whole bunch of criteria, and these were, so then when we went doing the case studies, we knew which one we wanted to use for each particular case study. So this is a super useful thing to do. Okay, voice. People learn better when the narration in multimedia lessons is spoken in a friendly voice rather than a machine voice. So just recently we have done some work with an AI tool, and I'm going to show you a little example here now. So this is a AI.
How many times have you been promised time-saving applications in your lives? What about in your life as an ed?
And this is what this video really looks like with a human, me. AI and STEM. STEM standing for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So there is obviously pros and cons to these as well, because AI can be super cheap. So these videos can be done with a couple of $100 now in AI. This one, again, is probably about $1,000, $1,500 video minimum, right? So we are looking at a cost difference here, but when we match it against what we think, like what we know about people responding, is that they would definitely feel that that is a robot, and you might lose attention. It might be just as bad as just having a big slump of text on the page. You might not even get the engagement that you wanted from the video. So there are considerations around how people learn and using AI, and how do we start to respond to that as a tool and as a medium as learners. Oh, keep clicking on the link, which is where the images. Okay, so finally, that's the 4 that we decided to deep dive into. Then we had a conversation about some of the other ones in the live session, which was a bit hard to record. So this is all for now in this re-record.